Hi, today we're gonna recap a miniseries called Bag of Bones, and before we begin, don't forget to like, subscribe and turn on the notification bell. Jo was having a nightmare till her husband Mike woke her up to write the last 2 sentences of his new book. After 4 months, when Mike was signing his book, Jo went to the pharmacy to buy a pregnancy test. While she was returning to her husband, she forgot to check the road and a bus showed up and killed her. After the funeral, Mike got depressed and stayed at home for too long. He was calling his house number just to hear his wife's voice. One day, he was sitting beside Jo's picture asking if she's here. He wanted a sign, 1 for yes and 2 for no. That's when the phone rang once, so he asked again for the same sign and the phone rang again, but this time it was his manager. His manager tried to pull him out of his misery a lot, and this time, Mike had no choice and the manager told him to go to the lake house and write a book in 3 months. The next day, he took his car and went to the countryside where the house is. He finds Bill, who was taking care of the house, and before he leaves he tells him someone is going to come first thing in the morning to clean the house. Mike goes to the office, opens the laptop and tries to write something, anything, but his mind is blank. On the next day he went for a run and on his way he saw a strange tree looking like a woman's body, so he saluted her and went in his way. When he went home, he opened the fridge to get some water, but that's when he noticed "Hi Mike" written on the door. He freaks out and asks Jo, "Is that you?" A bell on the house rang once. He became so happy because his wife is here, but he hears loud screams, so he begins to doubt about this thing being Jo. He noticed someone standing on the door and that was Brenda, who was going to clean the house. He welcomed her and went to a restaurant to have his breakfast. On his way, he found a small girl running in the middle of the road, so he stepped out of his car and moved her off the road. Then her mother showed up. The mother was Maddie and the girl was Kyra. The mother was struggling against her father-in-law about the custody of her daughter, so she was having a rough week. When he went to the restaurant, the chef welcomed him and said he should stay away from Maddie cause she has some problems with Max DeVore. The whole story about Maddie and Max was that Maddie married his only son, and one day, Maddie found out her husband was trying to drown his daughter, so she killed him to save her, and from that day on, Max focused his efforts to get the custody of his grandchild. When Mike goes home, he hears the phone and it was Max asking about the incident that happened to Kira today, and he meant her running in the middle of the road. Mike wasn't so respectful, so Mike insulted him back and hung up. Then he heard some music in the basement, but he could check it cause the cops were knocking at the door. They came to tell him about the meeting he had with Max and the state deputy. When he leaves, Mike notices helper on the fridge, so it must be Jo wanting him to help Maddie. On the next day he goes to the meeting as a witness. The state deputy was trying his best to take custody from Maddie, but because of Mike's testimony, nothing happened, and after that, Maddie's lawyer found out about Max's bribe, so they're likely to win. Maddie walked with Mike to his car and started to thank him about what he did. Then she started to take about his wife. His wife came to the lake house a lot without him, and Mike can't have any children, so when he found out that his wife died pregnant, he thought she was cheating on him, and his walk with Maddie made him more suspicious cause she told him that she saw her with a man she don't know. He goes home and finally he decides to write, so he brings his laptop and begins. The words start pouring out of his mind to come out, and every sentence brings more. Few days have passed and he is still writing till he's satisfied, so he decided to take a break. He went to the bathroom and the bathtub was full, and suddenly a dead girl came out and yelled, "Don't let me drown," and he told her he'll save her. But the girl suddenly disappears as soon as Brenda enters. He told her he was going to get some fresh air, and she warned him because he started to become dark score crazy. He didn't quite understand what she said and asked for an explanation. She hesitated at first, but she began to narrate. She begins with Lance trying to kill his daughter Kira, but before him there was Buddy, who killed his daughter, and after him was Bill, who also killed his daughter. There were 4 families who killed their daughters by drawing, and it was like the curse of those families, and the villagers called it dark score crazy. One day, Mike heard some noise in the attic, so he used the ladder to check it out, and it was just a raccoon, but he found some books and some research talking about Lance, Bill and Buddy, with some pages about Sarah, who was a famous singer, went missing. Maddie comes to tell him about the latest news, and she notices a photo in the corner, and in the photo was the person Maddie saw Jo with. But that was Mike's gay brother. Next day when he opened the fridge he noticed 3 words side down left, but he didn't get it, so he continued his day as usual. He went for a run and passed the same tree, but this time when he touched the tree, an electric wave shocked him and he found himself in a party for Sarah Tidwell in the 50s. He sees Kira running from some men, so he tries to help her, and when they hide, he notices another small girl asking for help, but he couldn't help both of them, and those guys managed to kidnap Kira. He woke up beside the tree and continued what he was doing till he reached the lake. There he sees Max and his servant, who punches Mike for no reason at all and begins to throw some rocks on him till she's tired and takes Max and goes home. On the next day, Maddie called him to say Max killed himself last night and she wanted him to go to the funeral because she wants to know what happened. In the same night, he slept in his office, and when he woke up he found "side down left" written on the whole page he was working on. At the funeral, he sees an old man in a wheelchair and Mike decides to visit him. His name was Edgar. Mike was sure he knew something about Max. Something he's afraid to tell, but Max is dead, so there's nothing to be afraid of. Edgar tells him, he and Mike's grandfather and 3 others were friends. One day, a famous singer named Sarah came to sing in the festival and Max decided to meet her. After the party he went to say hi to her in the woods, but he wanted more than a hey. Max grabbed her and raped her, and none of them had the guts to stop him. Here, Max notices a young girl watching them, and that was Sarah's daughter. Her mother told her to run and begged Max to leave her daughter alone. But he told the other they can't leave any witnesses and ordered 2 of them to drown her daughter. Sarah couldn't do anything except curse them all. They and their sons are gonna drown their daughter by their own hands till all of them disappear from the face of the earth. This indeed happened. Buddy, Lance and Bill killed their own daughters. Mike's grandfather didn't have any daughters, so nothing happened to him, and Edgar never got married. Mike went to Maddie to tell her about what happened in the funeral and what happened with Edgar, and she figured out that his wife came here alone cause she knew about the curse and tried to figure out how to lift it, and that made sense, and he was happy because he was tired of doubting Joe. Suddenly Maddie died because of a bullet, and that was the cop who was helping Max. Mike killed him as a self-defense and took Kira with him. The villagers tried to kidnap the girl from him because, by Kyra's death, the curse will finally be over, but he refused to give her to them. He went home, put Kira to bed and tried to figure out something, and he remembered "side down left" and he knew what Joe meant. He went to the attic, grabbed something and went to the tree who was looking like a woman and began to dig. He found 2 bodies there, so he begged Sarah to leave the girl alone, but she wanted revenge. And here, Joe showed up to save Mike, and this gave him the chance to cover the bodies with the thing he got from the attic, and the bodies began to decompose, and finally the curse is over. He sees his wife and they say their final goodbyes, then she disappeared. He goes home and finds Kira trying to drown herself because Max's servant told her to. She attacked Mike from behind, but he managed to kill her. The water in the bathroom begins to move and Maddie appears to say goodbye to her daughter, and before she leaves she whispers something in her ear. And finally everything is over. Mike asks Kira about what her mother said and she answers, "She told me you're ready to become a dad." And that's where our video ends. Thanks for watching. See you soon and goodbye.